Inside the policy, production, and funding forces reshaping the market, commentary. For more than a decade, drones have been described as an industry poised for breakthrough growth, the next frontier of logistics, inspection, and autonomous systems. But that promise has often felt like an echo loop, years of pilots, hype cycles, and unease about when real scale would arrive. What has changed now isn't just enthusiasm, it's structural reality. Today's drone industry is being reshaped by three forces seldom discussed together: policy acting as a market gatekeeper, production urgency from global conflicts, and a fresh wave of significant private funding. These forces are realigning commercial and defense drone activity into a new phase. It's a phase driven by industrial capacity, regulatory access, and operational deployment, not aspiration. Policy is the new market gatekeeper. In late 2025, U.S. communications regulators made a sweeping policy move that reverberated through the industry. The Federal Communications Commission, FCC, added all foreign made uncrewed aircraft systems, UAS, and UAS critical components to its covered list of restricted communications equipment. Equipment on that list cannot receive new FCC equipment authorization, which is typically required to import, market, or sell wireless devices in the United States. The practical effect: new foreign produced drones, even from widely used manufacturers like DJI, are barred from entering the U.S. market unless they meet strict exemptions. Exemptions can include inclusion on the Defense Contract Management Agency's Blue UAS cleared list or qualification as a domestic end product under Buy American standards, but those carve outs are temporary and subject to review through early 2027. Legal technology alerts, such as this one from international law firm Mayer Brown, described the FCC move as a national security determination that foreign made UAS and critical components pose unacceptable risks to U.S. national security and safety. What's new here isn't merely a restriction, it's a use of policy as structural market reshaper. In previous drone waves, regulatory attention focused on safety frameworks and airspace integration. Now, access to the U.S. market itself depends on compliance with security driven supply chain and production criteria. That elevates regulatory strategy and supply chain design above specs and speed as differentiators. Conflict has turned drones into an industrial problem. Another force remapping expectations is production scale driven by global conflicts, most notably the Russia Ukraine war. Independent analysis from the Center for Strategic and International Studies highlights that every drone in Ukraine depends on China for components, underlining how fragile and critical supply chains have become. That analysis frames drones not as exotic platforms to be perfected, but as consumables whose value lies in production quantity and reliability. In wartime, advanced capabilities are important, but readily available systems built at scale have a market advantage over bespoke designs that cannot meet demands quickly. This shift in perspective, from engineering elegance to production tempo, has parallels in how commercial customers now evaluate drone offerings. In industries like logistics, agriculture, and infrastructure inspection, repeatability, serviceability, and fleet density matter more than prototype novelty. Private capital is back, and it's betting on execution. A clear signal of this new phase is the resurgence of major investment into drone companies focused on operational scale, not just proof of concept. Zipline, the autonomous logistics leader, recently raised more than $600 million in new funding, pushing its valuation to about $7.6 billion. The company has surpassed 2 million commercial deliveries as it prepares to expand autonomous delivery services to Houston and Phoenix in early 2026, with plans for additional states and cities. This is not speculative venture capital. Zipline's funding reflects confidence in repeatable, real world delivery operations where drones are part of routine logistics infrastructure, not experimental gadgets. Across the Atlantic, European drone maker Quantum Systems secured roughly €180 million in funding, tripling its valuation to over €3 billion amid rising demand for its systems in real world operational contexts. These investments in very different companies share something important. Each is targeted at companies with operational credibility, demonstrable scaling pathways, and defined commercial or defense applications. Commercial and military are technically converging. A consequence of these forces, regulatory constraint, production urgency, and targeted investment, is that the technical distinction between commercial and military drones is narrowing. In both domains, the same core capabilities matter: reliable autonomy, resilient navigation, high quality sensors, and secure communications. Whether for inspection of critical infrastructure or tactical reconnaissance, these capabilities derive from common engineering foundations. For example, Skydio, the leading U.S. drone manufacturer, has two versions of their flagship platform: the X10 Enterprise and X10D Defense. The defense version simply adds the security layer that the military requires. That dual use reality means that advancements driven by defense needs, such as navigation in GPS denied environments or secure data links, have direct commercial value in surveying, mapping, and inspection services. The consequence is a feedback loop. Military innovation informs commercial capability, which builds market confidence and attracts capital, and the cycle reinforces industrial grade drones as infrastructure tools. What this new phase means for the industry. Taken together, these forces point to a fundamental shift in how the drone industry organizes itself. Regulatory compliance and supply chain transparency are now as decisive as product performance. Industrial capacity, the ability to produce, scale, and support large fleets, matters at least as much as innovation. Investment is targeting execution and integration, not just concept demonstration. In this environment, winning companies won't necessarily be the ones with flashiest demos or longest flight times. They will be the ones that can navigate policy constraints, build resilient factories and supply chains, and deliver measurable operational results for customers across commercial and defense markets. The drone industry is no longer defined by promise. It is defined by structure, access, and deliverability. Policy is shaping markets, wars are testing production models, and capital is flowing toward infrastructure oriented execution. This is not a new takeoff. It is an organization of market forces that determines who thrives in the next decade of unmanned systems.